So glad you're with us. Your financial compass, Brad Johansen, Chris Bulman, Scott Vlahon, Bulman Wealth Group. How are we today? We're not fighting today, are we?
Most of the time. I did have a good idea. It just popped in my head.
Oh, let it go.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes when they come, it's very important that you let them out.
It is, and especially now, more than ever. So, we have commercials that run between our segments, and my wife's been on them and done a good job. And my daughter is 12. As we record this, she has a big personality.
What's her name? Because she's going to want to hear this.
Sienna, yeah. Sienna, she should come read some ads for us. Her and my son, who's 9, don't care to see me on TV. They don't think it's cool, but she might care to see herself. So I think next time we should bring her out to record some ads. So I'm
like
speaking it into existence.
How do you feel about that?
I think all the kids, just see who performs best, make it a competition. I have 4 ES too, so.
Yeah, it might get some eyes on it. So
there you go.
I'd rather see them than our stupid faces.
No questions. The view is a little prettier from that end.
That's true.
We're going to talk about something that really is going to excite you. Taxes! Look, we talk about taxes on the program all the time. Why? Because it's probably the greatest hurdle that you're going to face in retirement. So how do we get over that? How do we deal with it? And because nobody likes it, how do we make it more palatable? You've been in this time where it's been all about tax prep. We get to that April thing and we say, why would we even have to talk about taxes? They tell me what I'm supposed to pay. I fill that out. I hand it to some guy. He fills out a form. They tell me what taxes I'm going to pay. How am I supposed to do anything with this? Tell me the difference between what I'm doing every year in tax prep and tax planning.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one. I think the best way to show that is in a financial plan, actually. But a lot of times you'll talk to a CPA and they'll say, did you fund your IRA or your 401k this year? Because you get to deduct that from taxes. But what they don't tell you is what does that look like 20 years from now when you have a big 401k, big IRA, and a big tax bomb. And so if you're a high income earner now and you're maybe paying near 40% in state and federal taxes or even higher, you might want to invest in those to get that tax deduction in the 401k. But also you might want to be educated that taxes were at a high of 90% for a long time.
Yeah.
And then 80, and then 70. So if taxes go back up, and you just deferred all your taxes at 37 or 40%, and now in the future you're going to pay them at 50, 60, or 80, was that a smart idea? And even worse, if you're a lower income earner, maybe you're, kind of in the $100,000 to $300,000 range, maybe you're paying taxes closer to 25, 30%. Do you want to defer that now when we know we're at an all-time deficit and debt level, and they're going to have to look at New York and California? They're going to keep raising taxes, and the rest of the country. So would you rather pay taxes now when taxes are actually potentially on sale, maybe, instead of paying it in the future? Those are questions we have to look at, and a lot of people don't even understand it until they see, what does it look like in my 60s, 70s, and 80s? And when you have to take $200,000 or $300,000 a year that you didn't need or know about, that you had to take, and you have to pay now maybe half of that in taxes, that's ugly.
Okay, you're saying that, but and most people are saying, well, I'm doing what they told me to do. I put my money in my 401k. And it's tax deferred, and now I want to look at my number, and my number looks good. Well, we can look at numbers that don't look good, especially when we look at the government numbers. So we're over $38 trillion in debt and continuing to grow by the second. The more that I talk, the higher our debt goes. Yeah. And yet we have even more than that money now in qualified accounts. So what's that supposed to mean if I've been doing what I've been told and I've got my money in qualified accounts? How am I supposed to move forward on that?
Yeah, and the funny thing with funny in a sad way, with the debt, I saw an article in Fortune magazine the other day, and they said, if you actually used what accounting actual businesses use for our debt, we're probably closer to 100 trillion, which is head explode off your body. So then it comes back to, okay, I was told to save money in my 401k, traditional 401k all these years, or traditional IRA, because Roth IRAs didn't even come out until 1998. Yeah. So a lot of our clients that are a little bit older, they didn't even have a Roth option for a long time, and they just put money into these 401ks. Roth 401ks didn't even become a thing until just a few years ago. So they've built this giant nest egg of money, which in one regard looks nice. Hey, I got $2 million here, but like we said, we're in business with Uncle Sam here because they control how that rate's going to change. And as Chris was saying a few minutes ago, we know where the tax rates are now. We don't know where they're going to be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road. So what can we do to prep? One of the things that we do is, okay, I missed the boat for putting money into a Roth. We can do Roth conversions, which I think we're going to talk more about later. But we are not CPAs. We're not looking back. We're looking forward. What things can we do now? We'll come back to the Roth conversions here in a moment. But sometimes it's something as trivial as, what accounts do I pull from? In what order once I retire? Do I pull from a brokerage account, non-qualified, then from the IRA, then from the Roth? And it seems so basic, but that can have a huge tax disparity. Or how do we want to structure it for the legacy element of, when I'm not here, how do I want to pass the money on to my kids? So that's where we can come in to play of the tax planning aspect of it.
Okay, and this is a tool. We'll do this for you on the program because simple is the goal. How do I understand this? Well, they put together a tax calculator for you. It is BulmanTaxBill.com. If you scan the QR code here, this is about as easy as it gets. You put in your qualified money for all that you have done tax deferred for a long time. And what are you qualified for? More taxes. I apologize. When you go to this tax calculator, you can't unsee the number. Because for many of you, it's been saving. I've been putting it away, but you haven't been paying taxes on it. This will tell you what Uncle Sam wants now, what he'd like at RMD, what he'd like to do in passing it on to the next generation. And you say, are you serious? This is my number? On the other side of this, it will be the strategy that Bulman Wealth Group can put together for you to say, maybe you get to keep a bunch more of this in your own pocket. I encourage you to go to BulmanTaxBill.com, scan this QR code to try and get to that spot. Chris, we are kick the can, man. You know why? Because we follow the lead of the government, unfortunately.
And they're good with, they balance their budget every year.
My goodness gracious. They'll kick the can to say, let's solve this later, let's solve this later. Let the next Congress do it. Let the next Congress do it. And I go back to my beginning point of saying, why would I even try to strategize on my taxes now when I'm just going to have to pay them anyway? Scott just said we may be in one of the most advantageous times. It is on top of what you said. We've got rules that now have been put in place so that we know, well, they say permanently, but we know it's permanently until it's not permanently, that we can do something now. Don't you play with the rules that you have right now to say, okay, if it's painful, it's less painful the way that we have it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that a good way to think about this is, if someone came to you and said, hey, let's start a business together and we're going to be partners, what you would probably ask them is, well, what's your share and what's my share? Are we 50-50 or 75-20 or, and when are we going to close the partnership or what's our goal? Well, we don't do that with our 401k. We just blindly add money to it or IRAs. And I'm not telling you shouldn't be adding money to your 401k, but I'm saying you should have a plan. So just like going into a partnership, you're going to a partnership with Uncle Sam when you have an IRA or 401k, except this partner doesn't tell you his share until he wants to tell you his share, and it changes all the time. Right now it might be 37%, 20 years it might be 77%. And he's not going to tell you until that time. And he'll change the rules along the way as well. So that's really important to understand. So like you said, if you can take care of things while we know the rules, it's better than leaving it to the unexpected in the future. So I think it's vitally important that you take advantage of that. Taxes are going to go up in the future. And look at one of the changes that we had with the stretch rule on IRAs.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Prior to 2020 and 2019, if somebody had passed away and left their money, $2 million in an IRA to their single or two kids or however many it were, but what if it was one child? That money could be stretched then to the next generation, meaning you have to take income, but you only have to take a certain amount, and then your kids can take a certain amount. It can last forever. 2020, that changed.
That's gone.
That's gone. They said, now the money goes to your kids. They have to take it all out within 10 years.
If they need it or not.
Whether they need it or not. So now, let's say you have that $2 million IRA, you have one kid. Now they've got to take $200,000, north of $200,000 a year for the. Maybe they're already making $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000. Now they have to take all of that income. It doesn't. Some of you watching, you're thinking, well, what's so bad about that? Well, if you don't need the income and you had it invested and it could be growing, but now it can't grow because you have to take it and pay taxes, you're left with half of it. So it's important to take advantage of some strategies along the way.
Take advantage of what you have right here. This is a tool to let you know what you have in qualified money, what is tax deferred, what Uncle Sam, your business partner, wants to do with your money, and how you can keep more in your pocket. Then let's talk about some of the strategies that we can use to keep that money in your pocket. You're going to want to make a call to 888-970-4685. Let's put together a financial compass review for you, because maybe now you have a runway that will help with that tax strategy to make retirement better down the road. Make the call. We'll be right back with some of the strategies when we come back.
Successful retirement to me is someone who doesn't have to worry about where their next paycheck's going to come from, where the income's going to come from. Are they going to run out of income? Are they going to run out of money? Are they going to meet their financial goals with respect to maybe they want to leave money to their children? Maybe they want to leave money to a philanthropy or a university.
Being able to wake up and know the day is an open slate and not having to worry about things. Or say someone's going on a trip with family, they're going to the beach, and if the headline says, the market's down again or something, they're not concerned. Bulman Wealth has my back here. We've got a plan in place. My portfolio is set up in a way that that concern is not there.
All the pieces fit together like a puzzle. When that all fits together and you can see the peace of mind that gives families, that is a successful retirement.
Did you know the IRS is your silent partner in retirement? It's true. If you have a traditional 401k, IRA, pension, or similar retirement accounts, they're all tax targets. But how much? To find out your potential tax liability, get our easy-to-use tax calculator. Just scan the QR code or go to bulmantaxbill.com.
Glad you're with us. Talking taxes. Brad Johansen along with Chris Bulman and Scott Vlahon, Bulman Wealth Group. And it is important to talk taxes because the sooner we can get them done, and you may have a runway to actually get them done. How do I do that? I want to put this back up for you again, bulmantaxbill.com. This is what you have in qualified accounts and where we're going to go. So I want to talk strategy. And you mentioned this, that it really hasn't been that long that if you're working right now, are you simply putting it into a traditional 401k, or does the business that you work with now have a Roth 401k? So we're going to talk Roth contributions and the difference between Roth conversions if I'm still working. Let me just ask this question straight out to you, Scott. Should I still be contributing everything I have to my traditional 401k if I have the option to move it into a Roth 401k?
There's probably people that would want to debate this, including some of my clients, but I would say no. Here's why. So the stats now say almost 90% of companies have a Roth 401k, because a lot of times people make too much income to do a Roth IRA. Remember, an IRA is always outside of a workplace. A 401k is something within a workplace. And in an IRA, if you're over 50, you can only put in $8,000. A 401k, you can put, what is the current number, like 32.5, 33,000? But say you have a Roth 401k, and if you're 55, 60, what have you, or 45, I would rather, we've said this a few times, if I have the ability to, instead of, I make too much money to do a Roth IRA, but there's no income limitations with a Roth 401k. It doesn't matter if you make $1 million a year, you can still contribute. And that coupled with the fact you can put in 3 times as much, if not 4 times as much into the 401k, I would rather do that. So take advantage of the Roth 401k. You pay the taxes now where we know where the goalpost is now with taxes. And we get them out of the way, and it's your paycheck will shrink.
Yeah, it will.
Surprise. But I always tell people, taxes stink now and they stink later. I'd rather them stink now where I know where they stand and I get them out of the way than once, if you guys remember, once the money is in the Roth, everything we contributed and all the future gains are tax-free. I'd rather have all my money there. So I stand on that hill and die on that hill, and we could argue on, and I'm sure that's an exciting party discussion.
Well, I mean, part of that is delaying gratification, but the gratification can be compounding, and there's nothing better than compounding when I don't have to pay taxes on the compounding. So in delaying that, that begins the contribution. I'm still working.
Yeah, Brett, if I can just add on to that.
Please do.
We've done calculations in the past where if someone contributes, it was 21, then 22, 22.5 to their 401k all these years. If you get to deduct that and you're roughly 30, 33% taxes, you're saving $6,000, $7,000 a year in taxes, right? So if you do that, and you do that for 20, 30 years, add it up, all the money you saved in taxes, then add the taxes that you pay once you have to start taking RMDs, you'll pay back all those savings that you got over those 20, 30 years. You'll pay back all those savings in the first 6 years of retirement and continue to pay it for the rest of your retirement. Versus what Scott's talking about where you just get it out of the way now and then you have tax-free retirement all the way through.
So let's go from that. And the math works. How do I start working on conversions for this? If I'm moving into the retirement time and say, you know what, I think it may be time for me. Does it make sense? How do we work on does it make sense for Roth conversions?
Yeah. There's a lot of nuance. And it's one of those things where I always tell people it's always worth looking into in terms of seeing if it makes sense in your situation, but it's not a slam dunk in every, it could, we don't want to cause more problems than we're solving with a Roth conversion. So say it does make sense. We want to make sure, part of it depends, like the way I look at it, say I'm 65 and I'm not going to have to start RMDs in that case until I'm 75. So I got a 10-year window. How much can we systematically do each year? And you don't do it all at once because you have a gigantic tax bomb, you hop tax brackets and end up paying more in taxes. So say we systematically chop that tree down a little bit each year, converting a portion from traditional 401k into a Roth IRA, or traditional IRA into a Roth IRA. And we want to keep it under a level so we're not hopping a tax bracket. So there's a lot of numbers involved. If you have a CPA, we'll work in conjunction with them to make sure that we're, staying aligned. But if you're over 65, there was a new bill passed last year that for the next 4 years, you get a little extra standard deductions, gives us some more wiggle room for conversions. So the point is, there's a lot of nuance, a lot of numbers involved, but we look to see what is the most efficient way that we can do it. Maybe we can't convert everything by the time we get to RMD age, but I'd rather have a lot more in Roth IRA at that point than get to that point. I got $2 million in traditional IRA, and now I got a $200,000 RMD. So the point is, it's involved and there's nuance.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we've seen clients, our clients that come to us later in life, maybe they get to 71, 73, 75, house is paid off, bills are paid off, cars are paid off, kids are out of the house and they're doing well, and they have to take $250,000 or $500,000 a year in income they don't need so that they can pay taxes to the government because the government says you have to take RMDs. These are things that people don't think about at all.
Well, and here's the problem. What ages were you giving? 73?
Yeah, I was kind of going through, yeah.
But if we go to that point, I go back to what do I talk about all the time is runway and kick the can. Let's just wait until we have to. But the idea is if you have a client at 65 who doesn't have to pay RMDs until 75, you now have a 10-year strategy to try and figure out that by the time the government wants to take something out of your account, we've taken a bunch out. So my partner can't have what he thought he was going to have because I strategized before that. Some people think Roth is for everybody, and that's what we're saying. We're not preaching that Roth is for everybody, but if you strategize in the runway that you have, doesn't it give you a lot more? And don't we want options? We get a lot more options.
Get a lot more options, and we always say it comes into the context of a plan where we can run a simulation for someone and say, look, what if we don't do any Roth conversions? Here's what your RMDs are going to be at 75. And we can show what their taxable burden will jump at from age 74 to 75. It could jump by $40,000, $50,000 in tax burden alone. Then you reverse engineer it back and say, but if we start trimming it down each year and converting, we're getting out of the way. You're almost prepaying your RMDs or starting them early, and we get out of the way of some of those taxes. In the long run, we'll generally end up saving a lot more in taxes. And the last thing I always reference to people, hey, you got kids, right? Or grandkids. This goes back to the inheritance rule. I'd rather leave my kids Roth IRA money where they get it and every penny's theirs and not leave them a bunch of IRA money like, well, Dad passed and we miss him, and he left us this giant tax burden. So the secondary benefit of it is the legacy play in terms of leaving behind tax-free money too. You benefit from it, but so do your loved ones that you're leaving it to.
And why do the folks at Bulman Wealth Group talk about this when it doesn't necessarily benefit them? Because as an independent advisor who have your best interest at heart, maybe taking money off the table that they could necessarily manage is better for you to put into a Roth. Well, yeah, but I have an advisor who says, you don't need to worry about that for another 10 years because it doesn't benefit your advisor. Why aren't you with an advisor that is looking out for you rather than looking out for them? 888-970-4685 to put together your financial compass review that's best for you and not your advisor. Do it now. You need to do something for you. You've been kicking the can for a while. How about you take some initiative and say, all right, I've been watching. I'm going to make the call. Make it now. Let's make a plan for you. Back with more after this.
The team at Bulman Wealth Group is exceptional, from our advisor team to our service team, which is, I think, second to none. But it all revolves around the idea that our clients are vitally important.
One of the ways I feel like we differentiate ourselves is we want a relationship with our clients. And I really learned that from Chris. Is there's so many dollars and cents and all this information to know, but at the end of the day, it's got to be a trust and a like, because we're partnering with somebody. So I want them to think a trip to see me is not a trip to the DMV or to the dentist, but it's just being able to share in the good times and be available to be a resource in the bad times too.
Our clients are our friends. I really view them as part of our family because we go through some pretty significant life events. So it's really being a partner with our clients through all those life events and through the life journey. Think your retirement savings are all yours? Think again. Your traditional 401k, IRA, or pension comes with a tax bill from the IRS, and it could be bigger than you expect. Want to find out how much? Our quick and easy tax calculator can show you right now. Just scan the QR code or visit BulmanTaxBill.com to see your potential tax hit and how to plan around it.
Hey, grateful for your time. Thanks for being with us on your Financial Compass. Brad Johansen, Chris Bulman, Scott Vlahon, Bulman Wealth Group talking taxes. I know it's thrilling, and it's not, but it's thrilling when you get Uncle Sam out of your retirement plan and you keep more money in your pocket. Tell me some of these stories as this has moved forward, because we talked about Roth 401ks are relatively new. And even in that spot, the government created some of these to make businesses have them. And the businesses didn't necessarily tell their employees that they even have that options, meaning we're not doing it all for you. This is just kind of what we have to do. Anybody who has moved in the last 5 years, Chris, that you remember coming through to say, we've had to strategize this, and this became different, and it was a life changer for some of the people that we've had coming in.
Yeah, I mean, and it happens, by the way. Most of our clients are pre-retirees and retirees, but I can remember specifically a couple that came in late 30s, maybe early 40s, both professionals in the doctors.
I mean, that's early, but they're not kicking the can.
Right, and so, but they work for the big hospitals that the hospitals put money in on top of your money. So they're maxing out their 401ks, hospitals putting in another $30-some thousand in. So they've got $68,000, I think, each going into their plans at this point, tax deferred. So imagine, and I had never even seen a number like this, but they're young. So another 25 years of working if they wanted to work that long. And I remember going through the plan and showing how their wealth was just growing, and they felt really good until he looked down at age 73 and he said, what is that? Why did my income jump by $900,000 a year? And I was like, well, you don't have a choice. Because you've saved so much in qualified plans. Trust me, at your wealth level, everything's going to be paid off at that point. The kids are out of the house. They're at Harvard and Stanford and Yale, and now you're at a home that's paid off. You don't have any bills. Your kids are successful. You want to go fishing, but on $1 million a year income. that you're paying $500,000 in taxes when you're retired. Why would we do that? And actually, he said, why would we do that? And so we started strategizing what we can do so that all that money is not being built, and we're building some tax-free money as well.
BulmanTaxBill.com is what's up on the screen. We've left it up there for a reason, because they have built this tax calculator for you. It's not fun. The numbers that you see aren't great, except you look to the other side on the strategy. Scan the QR code to find out where you are. And the sooner, the better on the runway for this. Taxes are going to figure into just about everything within a financial plan. Scott, I want you to kind of talk about, because this is daunting for a lot of people. I don't want to talk taxes. I would like to keep more money. And I've had somebody who doesn't talk to me about taxes all the time. So if I come in for a second opinion, give me an idea what the experience is like, because it's hard, number one, to change. It's hard, number two, to talk about all the stuff that I have, especially if I don't feel like I've done it right the first time and I've made some mistakes along the way, and I don't have enough to even talk to you about why would I want to go in and do this for myself. What's the benefit? What's it like to walk into the office and say, I'm going to do this?
I think a lot of people have the misconception, it's true in some cases, that advisors like ourselves, give us your money, we'll do nice things, we'll grow it for you. And that's financial advising. It's not. That's a big part of it, but there's so much more to financial advising. It's not just investment management. It's like, hey, I've got this guy and he's got me in these funds and it's growing well, but I feel like I'm flying blind without a plan. Or I'll ask someone I can kind of pick up on. It's like, so the plan that you said you don't have a plan, or have you planned this out, your current advisor, what does the plan look like that he or she showed you? Well, he hasn't. Well, why not? I mean, it's more work on our end, but I'd rather show the full picture as opposed to just the trailer. We want to look at this exciting trailer. I want the whole movie, the boring parts and the exciting conclusion. So that's what the plan is putting all the different actors together. This account, this account, this account. This one has no taxes. This does have taxes. Where does inflation play in, or our budget? And putting it all together to see what the full movie looks like. And it's more work, but that's where the second opinion is. If your advisor isn't doing that, then yes, not to shake you, but I'm going to shake you virtually. Call the number and get a second opinion, because obviously they're not doing the full job for you.
I second that. I shake you virtually. 888-970-4685. Scan the QR code. Let's have you come in, put together a financial compass review. Look, the idea is you've never had more time than right now to try and put together a plan that's going to last for your last breath. Maybe it is time for a second opinion. Make the call. We're grateful for your time here. Thanks for spending it with us. We'll see you in the office, right? And right back here next time on Your Financial Compass.